right, 360.
Come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right.
Woohoo! Here we go. It's gonna be a great tutorial. I'm sure you guys are super excited. Okay, that's just mean. Come on, you're gonna be fine, right? We're good. It's gonna be good. All right, we're gonna do more intro to pedigrees. So you've seen this before, yes, right? This is our intro slide. Today we're gonna talk about the dominant guys and some telltale signs for those. Just a little bit of a review, right? Just like we saw in the other tutorial. You gotta know these. Not gonna read it. Gotta know this. Ooh. Gotta know it. Gotta know it. Just know it. You're fine. Nope. Yes. No. All right. Here we go. Let's take a look at the dominant traits. And we're going to say rare because most disorders are rare. So, that's just how it is. So what are we going to look at? We are going to look at, how do you know it's caused by a dominant gene, right? The affected individual always has at least one affected parent, right? You can have one normal parent, but has to have at least one affected. So that means you can't ever have this, right? We talked about this in that last tutorial. If it's a dominant trait, no, not dom. If you see that, can't be a dominant trait. So you already know.
You're a winner.
Yes, you know you're a winner. You got it right. Affected individuals appear in every generation. Again, two unaffected parents never have affected offspring. Can't happen. But two affected parents can have unaffected progeny, which never ever happens for recessive. So if you see that, right, again, you are good. No, not bad, good, right? You know it, which means...
You're a winner.
Exactly. Let's look at the little squishy guy up here. So I already did one for you. I do it again, because you're my people, and I want you to succeed. Okay, so if you are an affected individual, here you are, you're affected. You have to have at least one parent that's ill. We're talking about dominant, right? Oh, I didn't write these out for you guys. So a dominant trait, and I know in the other tutorials I've also done some of this, but if it's redundant, that's okay. It just helps you remember. Not affected. These guys have it, right? They have the trait. They are affected. So in this case, we know this guy has to have at least one big R. We don't know what the other one is, right? Because the dominant trait, you only need one to show the dominant trait. And it's a dominant disease or disorder or trait. So we know this guy has to be that. What about our good friend the dad? Do we know? Do we not know? Do we have an idea of what they are? No, we know. If they're open, that means they have to be recessive. And we always know the genotype for the recessive trait. It has to be little r, or two little somethings, right? So again, what do we know then about this guy, the offspring? Well, if one parent's unaffected, has to have a little r. And then if it's the offspring's affected, they have to have a big R, and that had to come from the parent, from some parent, right? So we can't ever have this if it's a dominant trait, not dom. Must be, yes, recessive. So that's telltale. If you see that, that has to be recessive. That pedigree just has to. There's no other way about it.
You're a winner.
And then you get to hear that too. Okay. So that's this one, right? That's this one. They can also have, right, both can have this. This doesn't tell you diddly in your pedigrees, right? Because it could be R. This guy could be big R. How could that guy be big R? This guy could have popped out. That guy could have popped out. What are the chances? What's the probability that that offspring would be homozygous dominant? What is it? What do you think? Do you have to do that Punnett square? Right? That would be heterozygotes crossed? No. It's 1/4. What about big R, little r? What are the odds of the offspring being that? Half. What about getting an open square? Right? We'd have to change the story, and it'd have to be an open square. Be 1/4. Right? So we could do this for a dominant trait. That totally works. But then what do the parents have to be? They can't, neither one of them can be homozygous dominant because they each have to be able to give a little r in the gametes to give this guy little r to be unaffected, right? So 2 affected parents can have an unaffected progeny. Could that ever happen with recessive? Without getting confused, let's do it really small over here. As small as I could draw it. And we'll go like this. And if we're pretending recessive, so we're going to bring this over here. So this is recessive. If it were recessive, so that means the sick guy's recessive, which means then we fill in these guys, right? Anybody closed in has to be homozygous recessive. How could that guy ever even have one big R? He can't. Ever. You can't, right? Exactly. So if you see this in a pedigree, and you pick it's a recessive trait.
Too bad. Right again.
Right? It has to be dominant. Only dominant. Dumb. No recessive. So we're just going to scribble it out. It can't be that. It's never recessive. Has to be dominant. It's a telltale sign of dominance. All right, so if you're looking at an autosomal dominant trait, equal in males and females because it's not X-linked, right? Unaffected persons do not transmit the trait. Right here, absolutely not. Because you can't have a bunch of little r's given a big R. And we know if it's a dominant trait, anybody with an open circle or square is little r. Parents with 2 little r's can only give away 2 little r's. If you don't remember what the hell that means, that's the Punnett square. Would any of these guys, they're all little r's. There's no big R. You can't have a big R. But if you look over here, we know dad is little r. One kid's little r, right? And if this kid is little r, then we know the genotype of mom. She has to have at least 1 little r, but she's filled in circles, so she has to have a big R. So that means one of the little r's made that kid. Either one, right? Could have been the same R, could have been a different R. Went to this one, so that one has to have a little r because he got it from dad. And then it's filled in, so has to have a big R from mom. So you can work through the whole thing. You know if you're told it's a dominant trait, anything open is little r. And you can just fill those in right away, and then you infer, and then anything filled in has to have at least 1 big R. And then you figure out what its other allele is depending on its offspring. Sometimes you can't tell and you're not sure. Sometimes you can. So, affected persons have to have at least one affected parent. So that's exactly what we talked about. So, if we look here, just another example. Heterozygotes show the phenotype. What do I mean by that? They're sick. They have the trait. They are affected. They are a filled in. Right? So again, if you're told it's dominant, you automatically know anybody open has to be little r's. So then this whole side, nobody can have it. Right? If you have it, one of your parents had to have it, has to have at least one big R. Since this couple had an offspring that's unaffected, we know that guy has to be a heterozygote. Right? And so then we can look at this couple to here. Again, we know that number 4 has to be heterozygous in order for these guys to appear. Same here. We know this one's this way, has to have this. We know it's a little r because of this one. Now, what would happen if that were a closed circle? Question mark, question mark. What would we know about this person? Would we know? There's a question. What do we do? Panic? No, we don't panic. We think about our rules. What do we... No, that's panicking. We don't give up. We then look at the parents. If you can't tell what the heck's going on in a pedigree from a couple's offspring, look at their parents, if you can. So that's why in the real world, the more we know about a family, the more phenotypes we know, the more cousins, the more siblings, all that, it makes it much easier. But, in the real world, not everybody has, right? This is all in one family. Not everybody has 6 kids, right? If you have 2 kids, right, you have 1 kid, that might not help you at all. Or no kids. So we can look back to the parents to see if this guy's a homozygote or a heterozygote. So, which one is he? Pause, pause, pause.
Come on down. You're the next contestant.
All right, so here's another little example. I think we've used this one in another little tutorial. But again, make sure you understand how all these were assigned. So it's just given to you. Live it, learn it, love it. So let's do this one. What is the probability that the diamond will be affected? We have an affected diamond. What does diamond mean? Yep. Unknown. We don't know it's a boy or girl, or we don't care. It doesn't matter if it's a boy or girl if it's not an X-linked trait. So what is the probability that that guy is sick, has the trait? This is a dominant disorder. If you weren't sure, you could tell because the closed-in guys are labeled with at least one large capital letter, small guy here. Take a screenshot, upload to this, below this tutorial, pedigree intro 2. Wow, my handwriting's awesome. And, I don't know what we'll call it. We'll call it answer this thing. Let's call it, how about Price is Right? Price is Right upload. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So take a little break and do this upload. What else? Oh my goodness. I think we already did this. Did we already do this? All right, we're just not going to do an upload. We are just going to answer a studio question. So again, let's pause and answer our studio question. Aha! Oh, stop it. Price is Right. Just, knock it off. I don't have time for you. Okay, I get it. You guys are funny. Okay, so here, some rules. Right? This is what I already wrote out, but these are good rules. Like, we have to memorize stuff, but memorizing is not enough in this class. You have to be able to what? What do you have to do? Be a genius? No. Apply what you've learned. What does that mean?
You're a winner.
Yes, it does mean you're a winner. To a new situation you've never seen before. Dr. Malone always gives us questions that were not in the homework and they weren't in the lecture, and it's ridiculous. She expects me to learn the material and apply it. Yeah, you got to understand it. Like, we're taking that step. We're getting to where we know memorizing is high school, right? They think, oh, we're going to learn to think critically and we're doing the next generation science standards. Oh my gosh, give me a break. Right? You just memorize a bunch of stuff. It's too much information. But now, right, we did 107. We did some applications in our prereq to this. It's genetics. It's an upper division. We're not messing around. You have to know this stuff cold and then apply it to a new problem, which is why I want you guys to do a gazillion homework problems. So nothing seems too new. They'll be the same pattern. Won't be the exact same question. It might be a different disease. It might be the same exact pedigree you've seen in one of the homework problems. It might be rabbits instead of horses, right? But you have to know how to figure out how to do stuff. And that's just practice, 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 right? You just got to practice. Practice is king.
Too bad,
No,
too bad.
no.
Right again.
See, right again. Right? It has to be recessive because this. I see this here. Or it has to be dominant because we see this. Or we see this. Or, like, what is your reasoning behind choosing one? So, and then our good friends here. We have a tutorial that covers these guys right here. So we're not going to talk about those right now, but watch that tutorial. And then we'll do one of the A. It's the last one. Oh, here's a question. Okay, we're telling you it's a rare disorder. What is it and why? So the why is it has to be recessive because, and then you go back in your screenshot, dominant. If you just write dominant without why, then I'll be sad. Aw, very sad. Exactly. So the why is what. So, in generation 2, number 1 and 7 tell me blah, 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 blah. That's how I know it's dominant. Or that's how I know, oh, no, it's recessive. Because number 9 and number 2, 4, right? This is 2, 4. 2, generation 2. Sorry, these are generations. Can't remember if that's in any of the tutorials. And then the numbers, so you could talk about them. So you could say, if I said, if I said in a question, interesting. If I said, generation 4, number 7 mates with, generation 3, number 2, what happens, or something like that. You'll be able to figure, who I'm talking about. 4, 7 is that guy, 3, 2 is that guy. But for this question, for this upload, you're just telling me it's either dominant or recessive, and why. Like this, I just made this up, so don't do that. And then, after that,
You're a winner.
thank you for watching. Bye-bye.